Okay, so I'm biased, but U2 could be the greatest. More relevant than the Rolling Stones, perhaps even rivaling the Beatles. Maybe it's their energy or just their Irish charm, but U2 are obviously doing something right. After 25 years, they're bigger and better than ever. They sold more than 130 million albums and racked up nearly $1 billion on the concert trail. Then, of course, there's lead singer Bono and his crusade to save the world. So on the eve of U2's Australian tour, Ed Bradley joined them on the road for a bit of global politics and a lot of good old-fashioned rock and roll.
Still want to be the best band in the world?
Still want. Line them up. Line them up.
This was the scene in Milan, Italy last summer, midway through a year-long sold-out tour of the world's largest stadiums and arenas. After 25 years of touring, most critics say they are as good today as they've ever been.
Only rock and roll where people are burnt out at 40. I want to see what can happen with a band if they keep their integrity, keep their commitment to each other, and can we create extraordinary music? You know, what would have happened, and I'm not making a comparison because I don't feel worthy to touch their hem, but what would have happened if the Beatles lived and didn't, you know, disappear up their own arses, but actually stayed in contact with the world, were awake, didn't let their money buy them off. You know, I'm still hungry. I still want a lot out of music. Still haven't found what I'm looking for. Sing for us.
You say when people are screaming at a concert, it's not about you, it's about them.
In a funny way, that's right. It's unexplainable what a song means to you. Because remember, songs, it's not like a movie you see once or twice. A song, it gets under your skin. And that's why we abandon ourselves to it. It has a sense of kind of uplift, getting airborne. Everything feels possible, and maybe more things are possible than we think.
And at every concert, the band tries to make that happen. Before the show, fans are asked to join a campaign to help end world poverty. And during the performance, Bono sings of social justice and argues for religious harmony.
Jesus, Jew, Muhammad, it's true, all sons of Abraham.
Bono's passions are shared and supported by the band. Drummer Larry Mullen Jr., bassist Adam Clayton, and the guitarist who calls himself The Edge. The four of them formed their bond and their politics as teenagers in Dublin, Ireland. Larry Mullen wanted to start a band to play in pubs. Instead, he got one intent to take on the world.
And did being Irish have anything to do with shaping the band's social, political concerns?
Yeah, I mean, we lived, you know, all our lives with the terrorist situation in Northern Ireland and with the British Army, and seeing that on the news night after night, atrocity after atrocity. But more than anything else, and for the British folks, Irish people were all terrorists. So when we went to Britain, there was always a lot of resistance to, and that's why we came to America.
That was 1980. American music fans embraced them. By 1987, following their masterwork album, The Joshua Tree, critics began to call them the biggest rock band in the world. Tours and CDs since then, including their latest, have added to their popularity. But along the way, they found another calling, the starving, troubled continent of Africa. The band did their part at the 1985 Live Aid concert. Bono continued on behind the scenes and in front of news cameras to lobby world leaders to action.
There was a line I read that you said that I thought I really liked. You said, I'm available to be used, but I'm not a cheap date.
No, I'm not a cheap date. I'm in the checks business, you know, and not just people signing the checks, but people cashing them. And I'm ready to spend my, whatever you want to call it, the currency of my celebrity, if that's what it takes to get there.
He gets a lot of credit for lobbying President Bush. They've met several times. Today, the Bush administration contributes to one of his biggest causes, AIDS medication for Africa.
People openly laughed in my face when I suggested that this administration would distribute antiretroviral drugs to Africans. They said, you are out of your tiny mind. There's 200,000 Africans now who owe their lives to America.
And is there a secret to your success, the way you've been able to do this?
It was probably that it would be really wrong beating a sort of left-wing drum, taking the usual bleeding heart liberal line.
His proudest achievement may have been helping convince the G8 industrial nations to sign an agreement that will forgive over $40 billion in loans to third world countries, 18 of them so far.
And these countries, instead of paying that money, servicing these old debts, can spend it on, you know, health and education and infrastructure in their countries. It's an amazing achievement.
But for all of his success as an activist, Bono remains a rock star at the core. He and the rest of the band have vacation homes in the south of France, the epicenter of celebrity lifestyle.
How did you end up here? I mean, how did you end up the south of France as opposed to Spain, Italy?
They're very tolerant of loud Irish people here, as you can see. I like to keep a little low profile.
Fact is, Bono's celebrity profile could hardly be bigger.
Very good.
I'm here, you're there.
Rockstar sunglasses aside, he dispenses with it as much as possible.
I've seen you at a couple of places, not on tour.
Right.
And you didn't have security around.
No.
You were just sitting in a restaurant.
No.
So when you're not on tour, you don't travel with security?
No.
You don't have a posse?
No, I don't have a posse. Am I missing out? Have you got one? I bet you've got a posse.
I don't have a posse. I got a crew I travel with.
I said posse. I just, you know, I've always, you know, our thing in being in U2 is like, how do you be, but not have to have all that bull that goes with being famous and so answer number one, live in Ireland. Okay, that helped.
But
Okay.
we're in south of France.
Answer number two, live in the south of France. Why live in France? Because the French are so snobbish. The French are so into themselves, they don't even notice you.
Truth is, Bono and the band are treated like royalty on the French Riviera and spend as much time here as possible.
I'm afraid we didn't get much sleep last night.
Yeah. On tour this summer, they commuted to many of their European concerts from here. Their ride, a private jet.
The reason we hub out of the south here is because people's families can be based in one place and it's summer holidays, so it means people get to spend more time at home.
I mean, we're essentially into the simple life. That's the, you know, the simple, no nonsense. Where's that champagne?
Poking fun of themselves is something they do well and often. At the height of their early fame, almost 20 years ago, Frank Sinatra joined in at one of his Las Vegas concerts.
During the show, he stood up. He stopped us and made us kind of stand up and do the wave thing. And we were dressed in, you know, rags, just in comparison with sort of...
And he was impeccable.
He was impeccable and just stopped. He said, you're number one all around the world. He said, look at you. You haven't spent a dime on your clothes.
Today, they do spend millions on their concert production. Every last detail of their sets is state-of-the-art.
Cheers.
Even a cappuccino machine under the stage.
This is a nice little perk to have back here.
I think being on the road, it's the little things that make the difference.
That goes for the music, too. At this sound check in Spain, it's evident that this four-piece band gets a lot out of their instruments. Part of their secret, guitar technology.
It's like a programmable switching system, so I can go through any combination of effects.
So if you're playing, for example, what is Meatball?
Meatball is an effect.
So Meatball compared to, say,
Oh, you're gonna
Big
go
Muff.
Big Muff. Oh, Big Muff is
But Larry Mullen makes his job as simple as possible. You don't do those big drum solos.
I don't do drum solos. That's fairly simple and straightforward. But because I'm not that good, I've got to concentrate quite hard. So there are moments where I look like I'm in excruciating pain.
Mullen and Clayton focus on creating the engine that drives the music. Bono and Edge are the navigators, trying to take each song and each concert to new heights every night. This is where the band's two worlds collide. Their global fame has given Bono a political voice. U2's politics give their music a little something extra.
When it's all said and done, do you think that U2 will be remembered as one of the great rock bands of the era, or one of the more important rock bands of the era?
You know, actually, oddly enough, I think my work, the activism, will be forgotten. And I hope it will, because I hope those problems will have gone away. But our music will be here in 50 years and 100 years' time. Our songs occupy an emotional terrain that didn't exist before our group did.